All right, everybody, welcome back. It is the 5 o'clock hour here on the Sports Bash. It is brought to you by Matt Blatt Kia. They want to get you approved today. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. We've got NBA Finals game number 2 in the NBA, and Keith Smith from Spotrac.com is back with us to kind of take a look at that, a couple offseason questions and more. And, Keith, it's 1-0. Obviously, the Suns, very similar to that Bucks-Hawks first game where Trae Young just torched the Bucks defense. They didn't really make the adjustment in that game. Did you see the similarities from what the Suns were able to do against the Bucks in game 1?
Yeah, there definitely was some similarities to that game. There were the Bucks got a little cute. They put PJ Tucker on Chris Paul for a little extra size to start the game. It worked first 4 or 5 possessions or so. And then after that, Chris Paul is just too smart. He figured it out. They went to a bunch of screens to free him up. And then from that point forward, the rest of the game, it felt like Chris Paul and Devin Booker walked into a million mid-range pull-up jump shots. And those are shots that everybody screams are not good shots, but they are if you make all of them.
Right.
And that's what the two of them did. So, yeah, it really, went the Suns' way big time offensively against the Bucks defense, which is usually really pretty good.
Yeah, Keith, do you anticipate, they made the adjustment in game 2 against Atlanta. They used Drew Holiday more on Trae Young. The problem is here, Drew Holiday can only guard one guy. He can't guard both Booker and Paul. So how do they play that?
Yeah, my guess is they'll move Holiday over to Paul and then put Middleton and Tucker on Booker and kind of live with it. Or they may go to, Pat Connaughton more off the bench, or maybe Bryn Forbes a little bit more. I don't know that Forbes is the answer defensively, but yeah, I think a lot of it for Milwaukee too is going to be tweaking their coverages, whether they're switching those screens or they're playing the drop coverage against it, or whether it's just a straight fight through the screen kind of situation. So I expect to see some adjustments matchup wise as well as strategy wise from Milwaukee, and execution just needs to be better for them as well.
Yeah, so they like to drop a lot. In fact, in game 1, the narrative was you got to get him off the floor. How do they change what they do with him?
Yeah, what you can do, and we saw this against the Hawks and the Nets, both is you bring him up a little bit higher to the level of the ball, and you ask him to play there with help behind him if the ball handler is able to turn the corner. And that's something you can do with Giannis and Bobby Portis. You can kind of have them floating around on that backside to kind of cover for him if that's the direction you want to do that, because you can't take him off the floor because he's just too important to them offensively. They need him out there, and they need his size, whether it be to straight rebound or block the Suns' bigs off the glass.
Keith Smith with us, NBA Finals game 2 tonight here on 97.3 ESPN. The coverage starts at 8. If you're the Bucks, how do you feel? How should they feel after game 1? I mean, do you look at that and say, okay, fixable, we got this? They've lost game 1 the last 2 series, fixed it, came back and won. Should they feel similar after watching game 1 on Tuesday night?
Yeah, I think they should. I think they played kind of okay in some areas. They got a lot of really good shots. They missed a ton of shots at the rim, which is not something Milwaukee usually does. They're usually really good around the basket area. So I think if you go back, if you're Mike Budenholzer, when you're showing the team the tape, it's, hey, make some of these layups that we missed, clean up a couple of things defensively, and this is a different game. We're right in this thing, right on top of it. So I think that's what their hope is here in game 2, is that they can clean their own stuff up, slow down the Suns a little bit more, and then they're right back in this series.
Yeah, I want to get your take, too, on Chris Paul and the way he controlled the game, the way he controlled the pace and the flow, just simply making the defensive change how he's able to do that.
Yeah, it's going to be hard because, I mean, you're talking about Chris Paul's been doing this for a decade and a half now, where the game's played at whatever pace he wants it played at. If it's speed it up and run up and down the floor and get a bunch of shots up, that's going to be the way it's played. If it's slow it down and grind it out, it's going to be played that way. He is better than any other point guard in the league at dictating the terms. So I'm not sure how much Milwaukee can speed him up or slow him down pace-wise. It's more going to have to be about executing no matter what pace the game is played at.
Keith Smith, we like to call him the founding father of the NBA bubble. He joins us here on the Sports Bash. You remember that last year. He wrote that great article about playing at Disney. That happened. Here we are. How are these playoffs different from what we saw last year in the Disney bubble where we are right now? I mean, you got the Suns at home. The Bucks have been pretty good on their home court too. So are these playoffs and these finals a different feel than what we got last year?
I think a little bit. I think in the bubble, there was a sense of if you were the lower seeded team and you get down 2-0, it's going to be hard to rally because then you're not getting that bump from going home. And this year it feels a little bit different. We've seen some teams rally. The Clippers did it in a weird way where they lost the first couple at home and then did it on the road. And we've seen the Suns went down early in their series. The Bucks were down at various points throughout this run. So I think the home crowds are definitely lifting players in a big way. And the finals is a little weird because there are a lot of tickets that don't go to the home fans in the finals because they bring in extra media, and then there's of course your celebrities and everybody else who's there. But we're going to see. I expect that Suns crowd. It was really good in Game 1. I'd expect them to be really good in Game 2 again, and really try to will their team as much as they can to a 2-0 series lead.
Keith, I want to get your take on the Bucks with Giannis. We saw a different Drew Holiday without him. What do you make of that whole situation and how they utilize Giannis? Obviously, they played the whole season together, but when they didn't have him, we saw a much better Drew Holiday. So, what do the Bucks do with that?
Yeah, it's a weird thing where Drew Holiday has been better when Giannis hasn't played or when they haven't shared the floor together. He's a lot more aggressive. He's very actively trying to get downhill and make plays and those kind of things. And then when he's out there with Giannis, he tends to sit back a little bit more and play, just kind of float around the perimeter and wait for the ball to come his way. So I think if you're Mike Budenholzer, what you want to do is put in a couple sets that are designed, get Drew Holiday the ball on the move where he's on the attack right away. It almost kind of forces him to have that mindset. And then if he's not going to do that, you got to pull him aside and say, hey, we need you aggressive. We need you to get into the teeth of that defense. Because Giannis did it a little bit. He was a little tentative early in the game, which that was expected after coming off the injury. So I think that is big. But I think what we're going to see with this game too is I think you're going to see Drew Holiday be more aggressive and trying to help Chris Middleton out as far as creating offense, whether it be his own shots or shots for others, because Milwaukee can't win if he's not that aggressive off the bounce attack player.
Okay, so that's a good lead into this. Can Milwaukee win an NBA title with Chris Middleton as the closer? Because that's what, to me, I guess I asked the biggest question. Yeah, Giannis is Giannis. He's a two-time MVP, but he's been kind of deferring in the fourth quarter. I don't think deferring, but Middleton's been their go-to guy. Is Chris Middleton the best player on the team that wins a title?
Yeah, that's kind of the question in the league right now is, can you win if your best player is a big? Because bigs can't create offense for themselves all that often. Now, Giannis is a little bit different because he's got a pretty good handle and he's able to get himself to where he wants to be. But yeah, Chris Middleton is their guy because you throw him the ball and he's making his plays off the dribble. He's doing all of his stuff. So I do think you can win if Chris Middleton is your closer. It just your margin for error is not as big as maybe it is for Phoenix, who if Devin Booker doesn't have a quite going, you go to Chris Paul or vice versa.
What do you see? You mentioned Paul. What do you see if he wins this title? Like, how does that change who Chris Paul and the NBA player is and becomes?
Yeah, what I've been telling everybody is it removes that comma, but he never won a ring away from the first line of his career. As we talk about this, everyone is going to mention him if he doesn't win with, he's an all-time great point guard, top 5, top 3, whatever it was, but he never won a ring. In that, because we see that today with Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, John Stockton, and Karl Malone, any of the all-time greats. So Chris Paul has a chance to completely change that, take that off the things you're able to say about him, and then that gets him in a position where I think you look at it and you say, Chris Paul is one of the all-time best, and you won't even have that as part of the argument against him.
I want to go into some of the secondary players and get your take on it. Campaign. When Chris Paul was out, I mean, this guy looked like he was. First off, he's made himself some money, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. He's on a minimum contract right now, and he will not be on a minimum contract next year. He's made himself a good chunk of change.
Wait, is he going to be someone that's completely overpaid, or do you think that he is a legitimate starting piece on a good team in the NBA?
I think he could be a starter on a good team. I think he's more of a rotation guard on a really good team, like a team that's a conference finals or beyond player. So I think he's going to get properly paid as far as that goes, somewhere in the $7 million range or so. A big chunk of the non-taxpayer MLE or a nice part of someone's cap space. But I don't think he's going to be one of these guys who gets 10+ million or anything.
Well, because we saw Timothy Mozgov a couple of years ago get $64 million based on doing I don't know what in those NBA finals. And I'm thinking, man, this kid here, someone's going to say, we have a bigger role for you. And what are we going to do to get you? Here you go. Like, I don't know what he means to these finals, because with Paul and Booker, he doesn't get the time. But when Paul was out, man, he really helped carry this team.
Yeah, he did. He can do a lot of things off the dribble, and he's your kind of classic late bloomer. His first chunk of his career was spent backing up Russell Westbrook, and we know that's you're only getting about 10 minutes a night when you back up Russ, and that I think really kind of stunted his development. It did give him that opportunity with those on-ball reps, and when you're a point guard, you need those on-ball reps. You can't be just kind of out there for 10 minutes a night, do your thing. Now, once you get later in your career, that's perfectly fine. And we may see that's ultimately where he slots into is, 15, 20 minute a night guy. But then if somebody's out, you can step him up to around the 30 minutes a night and you're perfectly fine. I think that's the point he's hit in his career.
Keith Smith with us, Spotrac.com, covers the NBA Finals tonight here on 97.3 ESPN. And then there's Jay Crowder. And talk about a guy who has a kind of an interesting, vagabond trip around the league. I mean, he was thought of as a great piece, and then he got moved, and then he kind of just like evaporated, it seemed, for a while, and now he's back as a key member. How important is he to this Suns team?
Yeah, huge. It's kind of the story going around right now is if you want to win, sign Jay Crowder, and he's going to get you deep into the playoffs. And Jay Crowder is the kind of guy that he's plug and play with any kind of good team, because he's going to defend whoever you ask him to. He's going to, generally hit a good chunk of his jump shots. But he's not somebody who needs the ball a lot. He's not somebody who's going to make a lot of noise as far as, I'm not getting touches, I'm not getting shots. He's just going to be out there doing his thing. He's kind of a new wave 3-and-D guy where he's, definitely the three-pointer. And then his defense is more versatile because he can really guard anybody kind of 2 through 4 and really hold his own.
On the flip side, I think you look at Milwaukee and it feels like just in this series that they might be just a guy short, right? Do you feel like they're just like, man, if they just had, and I think it was you that tweeted out the other night, DiVincenzo, man, if they just had him, how much would he have made a difference in this series?
Huge. Yeah, they really miss him. They need just one more guy who can eat 15 to 20 minutes and with good capable play, both on and off the ball. And that's what DiVincenzo gave them. He's a kid who's not afraid of the moment. He's going to step up and take his shots when it comes his way. He's going to do his thing. He's just going to get out there. And they really could use him defensively in this series. They could also use Torrey Craig, who's on the other side on the Phoenix Suns, who they just gave away when they were doing their kind of changing their roster around and open up some roster spots late in the season. They gave Torrey Craig to the Suns for just a minimal amount of cash. And it really is one of those things where he'd play a huge role on this Bucks team now. But that, that's all hindsight stuff. But yeah, they are one guy short. That's why Middleton, Holiday, Giannis, they all have to be so good every game, because you're just not going to get it from the deeper bench guys.
On the flip side, Dario is out now for the rest of the series for the Suns. Dario Saric, affectionately known here in Philly as the homie. But how much of a loss is that for Phoenix?
Yeah, it's huge because he's their backup big. They play pretty much one big at a time. It's DeAndre Ayton plays the bulk of the game, and then Saric comes in and plays 15, 20-ish minutes, some nights off the bench. And without him, they're going to have to go to Frank Kaminsky. They're going to have to go to more minutes, maybe with the rookie Jalen Smith, who's probably not up to the task of being out there. And then they can go small, but their small ball options aren't great because it's Crowder, it's Mikal Bridges, it's maybe Cam Johnson, maybe some Torrey Craig. And those guys are all really good if you're playing them as 3-4s, but playing them as 4-5s, that gets a little questionable. You just don't have the size at the rim. So it's going to be interesting to see how Monty Williams and crew cobble this together. My guess is they're going to ask Ayton to give them about 40 minutes a night, and then they'll have to just figure out and play through those final 8 minutes that are left over as best they can.
Keith Smith, two more important guys here. One, DeAndre Ayton was the number 1 pick in the draft. So I guess at that you would say, all right, this guy is a franchise-changing player. What is DeAndre Ayton, and is there more down the road for him? Is he even a better player? Is he just scratching the surface?
Yeah, I think DeAndre Ayton can be, even better than he is now. I tweeted when they traded for Chris Paul that he was going to spend the whole year getting yelled at by Chris Paul, and it was going to be the best thing that ever happened for him. And that's exactly how it's gone. He was already on his way. He had improved so much from year 1 to year 2 defensively. This year, that's carried over. And his offensive game was very raw before, and it was a lot based on instinct, and they weren't running anything for him really. Now he's a huge part of the offense, whether it's a roll man, sometimes there's straight post-ups that they run. He's got good touch around the hoop. He's a strong finisher as well, and then he's also developed a little jump shot, a little fall away. He's got a really nice game, and I think he's going to be a guy who continues to grow. And that's why you bring Chris Paul back next year when he could be a free agent. As Chris Paul starts to age out a little bit, Booker should continue to improve somewhat. He's already really, really good, so I don't know how much more ceiling there is to go for him. But then DeAndre Ayton will continue to improve, and that should offset any fall off from Chris Paul.
It took us this long to get to him, but Giannis, how important, first off, what he did the other night, how amazing that was, but his role in this series and how important he is to the Bucks winning this thing.
Yeah, incredible that he was even able to go. It's just that part's crazy. And then he looked a little tentative to start the game, but that's expected, as he was figuring out what he had after the knee injury. But then once he got going, he was dominant. He looked, absolutely fantastic for moments of that game. That chase down, almost full court block was, just one of those things where there's only a handful of guys in the league who can make that play. And Giannis is one of them. And that to me said more than anything, all right, he's feeling pretty good. He trusts in that knee, and he's ready to go. So now the question is, how much more can you get out of him? And Milwaukee needs more out of him. They need him probably to be up close to 30 points, 15 rebounds, that kind of stat line for them to have a real good shot at winning. The good news is we know he's certainly capable of it.
All right, that's tonight, game 2. Obviously, the Bucks have been in this position before. So, who do you like tonight?
Yeah, I like Milwaukee tonight. I think they are going to rebound. We'll see. But Phoenix at home, we'll see. But even if Phoenix wins, I don't think this series is over by any means. I do think this is going to be a good long series.
All right, Keith Smith at Keith Smith NBA, Spotrac.com for all of his offseason analysis on how the financial situations are for all these teams. We'll talk more with him on the draft and the offseason and these NBA finals. When Keith is back next week, we could have Game 7. So will we be previewing Game 7 next week, or will we be looking ahead to the offseason?
I think we're going to be previewing Game 7. I picked Bucks in 7 if Giannis was healthy and able to go, and he looks like he's healthy and able to go. So I'm going to go with Game 7 because I'm also at the point of the year where I'm getting a little sad because there's only max 6 games left. So I want every one of them that I can get.
When's Summer League?
August 8th, Summer League is. So, yeah, that's the fun thing about this year. We're going to go right from the finals, right to the Olympics, hopefully, and then right into Summer League when the Olympic ends. And then we'll have about a month off until training camp starts. So, yeah, it's wall-to-wall basketball all the way through to the start of next season.
Yeah, I like it. I am liking the fact that, you have the home run derby Monday and Tuesday, and then you have the NBA Finals on Wednesday. That Wednesday, you usually get nothing. So I wish the NBA could find a way to reconfigure the schedule, make it 82, get it into this time frame rather than where they had it before. But I imagine summer NBA Finals are not conducive for the best optimal ratings. And I don't know. I hope they can figure out, because I love it. I'm liking the way this schedule has kind of fallen out, the way the offseason is going to fall. As you just mentioned, the Summer League starts in just a couple of weeks. Keith Smith, of course, on the NBA Finals tonight here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Keith, good to see you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
All right, and coming up in just a couple of minutes here on the Sports Bash, the NFL, all right, ranked executives, players, coaches. They asked 50, one Eagle appeared in the top 10 at corner. Yes, at corner. We'll tell you who. I think you can guess coming up next.